मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
In the news tonight, PM tours COVID-19 isolation facilities. Banks roll out hardship incentive packages. And supermarkets start to see increase in demand.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
But first tonight, news just to hand. Spain is now included in the list of countries to whom Fiji's borders have been closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Permanent Secretary for Immigration Yogesh Karan confirms that as of tomorrow, all foreign nationals who've been present in Spain within 14 days of their intended travel to Fiji are not allowed in. This is in addition to China, South Korea, Italy and Iran, which were already on the travel ban list. Prime Minister Voreqe Bainimarama was today given an update on the action plan of the divisional hospitals in the West and their response plan should Fiji get a case of COVID-19. Bainimarama, together with the Minister for Health, Dr. Feremi Wangainambete, and other ministers toured the isolation centres in the Western Division. Dr. Wangainambete says the Prime Minister was pleased with the level of preparedness.
We are pleased that we know that there is a level of preparedness. We've been quite blessed because as I've said, we have a resilient public health system, but also we've had practice with the measles and men see from that before. But also, more importantly, government has put in a significant amount of resources to try and prepare us for COVID-19.
We now join Felipe Naikaso live from Nandi. Felipe, you've been following the COVID-19 impact throughout the day. What have you managed to find out? And in particular, how is the tourist town's atmosphere?
Yes, Jackie, as mentioned by the Fiji Hotels and Tourism Association Chief Executive Fantasa Lockington, a 40% drop in hotel bookings has been recorded for the next 3 months and this was due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Lockington also confirms the decline in bookings is increasingly daily with fewer inquiries coming through for the next quarter. And for the situation here in Nandi, we've spoken to a few tour operators and also resorts around Nandi, and what they've told us is that they are just preparing for the worst, especially if the trend continues into our peak period tourism season, which runs from July into August. But the main thing that they've stated is they want to ensure that no staff is laid off, and they will also be relooking at some of the cutbacks of hours and also a reduction of pay if the need arises. We also visited the Nandi International Airport earlier today, and what we've noticed is that there was a few less people that were trickling in, especially from the tourists. It wasn't a normal sight as usual, and also for the departure side, we noticed that there wasn't a lot of people that were planning to go out of the country. Also today, the Prime Minister was here in the Western Division. He was visiting a few hospitals around the West, and he also made a quick stop at the Nandi International Airport. He was briefed by the team, and he was taken up to where the tourist arrivals or people who are coming into the country. This is where they were being screened by the Ministry of Health representatives. He got to witness it firsthand, and he was actually happy with how the tight border securities were, especially with the announcement by the Ministry of Health and the Fiji government. Later, he was given a full detailed brief by the representative of the Ministry of Health who are based at the Nandi International Airport, and also by the Fiji Airport's CEO, Faiz Khan. Prime Minister Bainimarama and his team then left later tonight, and they're expected to be back here in the Western Division from tomorrow and also on Thursday.
Thanks so much for that update, Felipe. Banks have begun to roll out hardship incentive packages for their clients to assist those feeling the financial impact of COVID-19. The chair of the Association of Banks in Fiji, Rakesh Ram, says they've announced a number of measures. Maggie Boyle reports.
Association Chair Rakesh Ram today assured Fijians that the banks remain in business.
We have ample liquidity in the market. We'll continue to lend to our customers. We'll continue to support our customers.
In response to the financial fallout of the coronavirus pandemic, there are cushioning measures in place.
As Association of Banks is a loan repayment break or suspension of repayments, so you don't have to pay repayments for a set or agreed period of time. Number two, restructure of your loans, extend your terms, conditions, change your conditions, etc. to give you some flexibility. Short-term funding or top-up of loans.
Ram says they're also looking at interest rate reductions, fee waivers and concessions, all the while working with the RBF on their stimulus packages. Meanwhile, the Housing Authority, the country's biggest landlord, says they too are looking at how best to respond.
We do understand housing authorities customers are lower end of the market. Affordability is the key for them. Currently we are discussing the couple of packages in terms of what probably best to suit them.
The action of the Housing Authority and the banks are a sign of the response in helping the public to deal with the current situation. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
As stockpiling has put supermarket supply chains under severe pressure in COVID-19 affected countries, local supermarkets have assured Fijians that this is not the case in the country. The word is that there is enough to stock to cater to the local demand. Pranita Prakash reports.
One of the leading supermarkets says their supply chain has not been affected due to the outbreak.
There's no issues in regards to supply. Yeah, there is enough supply. Currently we are well covered.
Deo says there has also been a change in consumer behavior since last week.
Actually, our basic items, for example, flour, rice, oil, there's a jump in buying of those products.
The Food City supermarket says they have been in constant contact with the local distributors and they are well covered for the next few months.
We do import our own and then we have distributors locally. Like right now, our suppliers from China, for now they are open. They are able to cover for all our pending orders. And as for the local suppliers, they also are covered for the next 4 months, I guess.
Baksh says items such as garlic, soy sauce and plastic wares are imported from China. He says if their supply from China is affected, then they will have to look out for other avenues to bring in products. However, this could be costly for them. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Fijians living in Europe are among those who will be affected by the COVID-19 lockdown announced in many countries. As the disease takes its toll, killing over 300 people in Italy and France, the safety of Fijians working or playing for sports clubs is of concern. Speaking to FBC News, Samson Verma, a Fiji national residing in Italy, says the Fijian community in Europe is in constant communication to ensure everyone is safe from COVID-19. Chasai Nanunga reports.
This is the scenario in most parts of Italy and France, as people are taking heed of measures imposed by relevant authorities to ensure their safety.
The lockdown of the city, the shutting down of museums and bars, hotels, restaurants, even the airports. The airports are shutting down now with no more planes and flights coming in and out. So the Fijian community in each European country will inevitably be affected by these measures.
To date, there are no reports of Fijians in Europe, particularly in France, contracting the disease.
The European continent, Italy, France, Spain, is badly hit. The Fijian living in my country are as susceptible as any other people living in France to be hit, unfortunately. But the good message or the positive thing is that they are taken care of in all fairness and friendship.
The influx of COVID-19 cases recorded has triggered curiosity on the safety of Fijians in Europe. This has prompted relevant authorities and the government imposing stringent policies to prevent the disease from spreading further. Chosei Nununga, FBC News.
Up ahead, medicine shortage a worry. And man dies in Lautoka accident. Details after the break.
Radio Fiji 1 Nandomo Iviti.
The restriction implemented by India on medicine exports will be worrisome for the pharmaceutical sector if COVID-19 drags on for months. With Fiji importing most of its medicine supply, local pharmacies have been advised to consider if medicines such as paracetamol can be rationed according to the severity of need. Tandulala reports.
The pharmaceutical sector has given assurance that they are seeking other supply chains to obtain necessary medicine and have enough stock in place in the wake of COVID-19.
India has placed restrictions on about 12 molecules, let's say, that cannot be exported or are restricted for export outside of India. That does include paracetamol, a few antibiotics. Currently, we do have paracetamol coming in from Australia and New Zealand, so that should take care of that issue.
Without knowing how long the COVID-19 will affect global trade, the Fiji Medical Association and the pharmaceutical sector are seeking ways to cushion its effect on medicine supply.
It's a global thing. As you know, it's a pandemic, and part of the symptoms is a fever, and Panadol is the medicine for it. So our resources will get strained. Our protective equipments, medicines, as you said, will get strained.
At least for a couple of months we should be okay. Depending on how long this epidemic lasts, the picture might change as well. But for now we are okay.
The Economy Minister, in a meeting with the business community yesterday, said it's important for local stakeholders to employ risk management options and explore other relevant medical supply chains as India has implemented restrictions on certain medicines. Tandulala, FBC News.
There are 3 more confirmed cases of coronavirus in New Zealand, with the latest cases coming from Wellington and Dunedin. This comes on the day that the New Zealand government announced a $12.1 billion COVID-19 spending package. A man is dead following an accident in Matawalu, Lautoka at around midday. It is believed the driver of the private car died at the scene following a head-on collision with the truck. The deceased was heading towards Bar when it's believed he lost control of the vehicle, causing it to veer into the opposite lane. Investigation continues. A commercial unit has been set up by the Itauke Affairs Board to educate the landowners on the importance of income-generating projects. Speaking at the Rokotui's workshop in Lami today, Deputy Chief Executive Josefa Tonganivalu highlighted that the lack of financial literacy is hindering landowners from making full use of their land and other resources. Sainani Boiler reports.
The Itauke Affairs Board staff have been tasked to collect data on the types of business Itaukes have and identify areas that need strengthening.
Financial literacy, with the capacity building, so it is quite a challenge. There's a gap there, and we would like to bridge that gap by getting our staff there on the ground. We've started with some of these financial literacies, and also we build on the success stories that are already there to supplement the information that goes out to those in the rural areas.
Rokotui Telebu Mosese Nakuroi says many landowners do not know how to utilize their resources.
Itauke have resources, especially the land. The challenge is its utilization. We still lack the knowledge to operate business. We need to get these together.
The workshop also allows Rokotuis and the assistant Rokotuis to make informed approaches to help extend the capacity of the ministry and also to allow them to provide services more efficiently. Rokotuis and the assistant Rokotuis from the 14 provinces around the country were part of the 2-day workshop, which ends tomorrow. Sainiani Boila, FBC News.
The Western Denarau Island Resort and Spa took time out to recognize the contribution of women within the organization. Multi-Property Vice President Niraj Chada says Women's Day is a time to reflect on their progress, embrace diversity and celebrate extraordinary female associates. Chada says they have 57 senior female leaders driving the business and leading over 1,000 associates.
I think it is extremely important to celebrate the Women International Day. As I was mentioning earlier, this is all about unity, celebration, recognition of the issues, and getting the advocacy off the ground to make sure that we provide the most ideal working environments and living environments for the wonderful ladies we have in our lives.
And Whitney joins us now with the latest from business.
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up after the break. Qantas announced flight cutbacks. Fiji route under review. And in growing Fiji, HFC Bank launches new bill pay service portal. Stay with us.
My name is Neha and I'm from Kadavi. And Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Leading business, Qantas has confirmed that all its international routes, including the Sydney-Nadi-Sydney service, are under review due to COVID-19. Qantas flies to Fiji 4 times a week. The airline this morning said the review is a result of the significant falls in travel demand due to the coronavirus. Responding to questions from FBC News on whether the Fiji service will also be affected, Qantas says all routes are under review and the airline will be sharing more details once the cancellations have been decided. From the end of March, international capacity will be cut by around 90% until at least the end of May. This represents the grounding of about 150 aircraft, including almost all of the group's wide-body fleet. Meanwhile, the new restrictions announced by Australia on Sunday has had a drastic impact on Fiji's national airline. Fiji Airways has recorded a dramatic decline in the forward bookings, which used to be around 22,000 per week, now dropping to 2,000. Civil Aviation Minister Ayar Said Kayum says the extent of the effects of COVID-19 on the tourism sector is huge. Said Kayum says many hotel industry workers have been told to go home and come once a week. Sharon from HFC Bank joins us now with the latest from the world money markets.
A quick look at the foreign exchange market. The US Federal Reserve stunned investors with another emergency rate cut yesterday, prompting other central banks to ease their policies in the biggest coordinated response since the global financial crisis more than a decade ago. The Federal Reserve Board emergency rate cut yesterday lowered interest rates to near zero. Meanwhile, in Australia, the minutes from their Reserve Bank's board meeting were released today. According to the RBA, a swift economic recovery from the coronavirus outbreak is very unlikely, and the pandemic will have a significant effect on the Australia's national finances. The board said an extended period of low interest rates would be required, and it is prepared to cut the cash rate again to support the Australian economy. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Here today's exchange rates are set this morning. The global financial markets remain in uncertainty. The Fiji dollar sprung back from yesterday to gain against the US greenback, the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, as well as the PNG kina. It dropped against the Chinese yuan and the yen. On the commodities market, oil prices have fallen. They are now below $30 per barrel. Gold dropped over $50, down to $1,494 per ounce, and silver closed down at $12.26. Close to 20,000 Housing Authority tenants will now be able to pay their lease and mortgage through the HFC Bank's Bill Pay Service portal. Authority Chief Executive Robert Sands says they launched today with an offer of a convenient and inexpensive way to make bill payments. In light of the preventative measures against the COVID-19, the service enables the authority's HFC Bank customers to keep up with payments from the safety of their home or office.
Definitely with the this new bill pay system with home finance, definitely it will assist the customers to paying their payments on time and flexibility for them to pay from anywhere. It will be easier for them to pay if they are not around in Suva or our head office. They can pay from their home, or even they are paying from overseas too.
That's it from Business Tonight. Jamie joins you now with the latest from sports.
Thanks, Whitney, and good evening in Sports Tonight. Fiji Sevens reps told to restrict movement, and Fijian players in France are safe. This and more coming up.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
The Fiji Airways men's sevens team has been told to self-isolate and restrict interaction with people. Speaking to FBC News, Health Minister Dr. Ifaremi Wangainambete confirmed the players have been advised to take the precautionary measures. This comes after 2 members of the Australian Sevens program were tested for COVID-19 after displaying symptoms associated with the virus over the weekend. To date, none of the Fiji men's sevens players have shown any symptoms. Venina Rakautonga has more.
Following the confirmation by Rugby Australia on Sunday evening that 2 squad members had displayed symptoms associated with the virus, the Fijian Health Ministry has stepped in.
What we asked them to do is something that is similar to what's being done in other countries. So they need to be in a place where they do not put others at risk.
The All Black Sevens team have halted its training, while the South African Sevens team has also tested players who were part of the recent Vancouver and Los Angeles tournament. The health minister says they are not taking any chances with our 7 stars, as they did come into contact with the Australian team.
So whether it be their home or in that case in their training camp, and try and reduce as much as possible their interactions with everybody else. Meaning that they stay there, they eat there, they sleep there, and try as much as possible not to not to be in contact with other people who then may unknowingly be infected or forbidden what's a virus. So that's the whole aim of the isolation.
Fiji Rugby Chief Executive John O'Connor says the players are currently being monitored by the Ministry of Health.
The Ministry of Health has asked that the players remain in their homes, and they will continue to monitor them for the next few days.
The Sevens team arrived into the country last week, and the players have since returned to work and also club duties. However, with this new development, the reps will now have to play a wait-and-watch game. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
And Venina joins us live now. Venina, when can we expect to get an update on the tests done on the 2 Australian Sevens squad members?
Thank you, Jamie. Sources tell us that the results of the 2 Australian rugby players could be released later tonight, and following that, the Fiji Rugby Union will then take its next course of action, if any. The other interesting point is that we believe World Rugby will be making its decision on the London and Paris legs of the World 7 Series. The word is that the 2 tournaments could be postponed if the situation in Europe does worsen. Jamie.
The Fiji Rugby Union is in constant contact with France-based Fijian players as the country has gone into lockdown due to COVID-19. Speaking to FBC Sports, FRU Chief Executive John O'Connor assures that all players are safe. Venina Rakautonga again has more.
All Fijians playing for different French clubs are safe, assures the Fiji Rugby Union.
We've been in contact with some of the players and a representative in France, and so this morning we've been assured that while France government has taken actions to limit the spread, none of our players have reportedly been linked to having the symptoms or test positive.
French ambassador to Fiji, Jean-Francois Fitot, says the French clubs has been doing a good job looking after the well-being of its players.
Because as you know, all over the European continent, every big sport closed down. Football, rugby, everything else. And so the Fijian rugby players, unfortunately, today, they're not playing. And their clubs, the big rugby clubs in my country, they take care of their own, including, of course, the Fijian players, who are among the best players in my championship, I have to say.
Many international rugby events like Super Rugby, Six Nations and Top 14 have been postponed, and players have been advised to stay indoors as COVID-19 continues to spread. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
The Fiji National Sports Commission believes it is highly likely that the London Sevens tournament will be postponed. However, Executive Chair Peter Macy says they're still waiting for a final decision from World Rugby.
Well, already they've cancelled the Hong Kong and Singapore. The next one is London. I think that'll be cancelled. Right at the moment, see the increased cases in England. So, but we'll wait and hear. It hasn't been announced just yet.
Sevens is scheduled to take place on May 23rd and 24th. Last month, the Hong Kong and Singapore Sevens were rescheduled from April to October. No overseas teams are participating at the Fiji Maris Sevens, and the tournament will go ahead as scheduled. This has been confirmed by Maris Rugby Club President Lawrence Tikaram. Tikaram says the tournament will feature only local teams.
Just to clear there are no overseas teams coming, amid some speculation that they were. We had an overseas manager that was supposed to arrive, but he's no longer coming now. But all teams are local based, all are grassroots Fijian rugby players that proudly support Fiji rugby.
The Maris Sevens will be played from Thursday to Saturday at ANZ Stadium, Suva. NBA star Rudy Gobert continues to receive backlash after mocking the coronavirus outbreak. It's also believed that the Frenchman passed the virus on to teammate Donovan Mitchell. Over the weekend, a third NBA player tested positive. Harnessing rugby talent in the Pacific is one of the priorities in place for the Pacific Combined team. Working under the guidance of former Taranaki coach Willie Rickards, the program brings together players from the Fijian Warriors, Samoa A and Tonga A teams. Karalani Tavi with the details.
These players have been reminded to put the interest of their nations first.
Yeah, well, the most important thing is that these players are players of national interest. Okay, so it's not about us sending these players to go and play somewhere else. The first thing they need to do is be capped for their nation.
Through a database, these players will be assessed and ranked according to their skill sets.
So what we'll do is we'll compile a list of we'll rank our players, and then clubs from around the world will get in touch with us, and we will help mediate that process and make sure that whether you're a Tongan, Samoan or a Fijian player, you're going to a safe environment.
Fijian Warriors rep Christopher Minimbi says he is honoured to be part of an elite team.
I'm very thankful to World Rugby and all the Pacific Rugby Unions for hosting this. It's a huge experience. These guys, they're world-class coaches, world-class physios. We're really learning so much on a daily basis.
The training camp has been hailed a success as Fijians with the likes of Frank Lamani, Eronimowi and Mesulami Tolokoto have progressed to play in international clubs. Karalini Tavi, FBC Sports.
Now to play of the day, and while we're in for a Super Rugby hiatus, there were many great tries in round 7 last weekend, but this sensational team effort from the Blues, finished by lock Jared Cowley Tuyoti, has to be the pick of the week. That's it from Sports Tonight. Angie joins you with weather later on, and in new media. Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference will still go ahead, but just not in person due to COVID-19. Find out more after the break.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
In new media tonight, due to the COVID-19 threat, Apple says its June Developers Conference will be held virtually, with a streaming keynote trumpeting the next batch of software updates for iOS, iPad OS, Mac OS, TV OS and Watch OS. And our favorite weather girl, Angie, joins us now with all the latest.
Hello all the way from Punjab in India. Now, before I get all excited, let's just jump to weather. The day in general wasn't that bad, apart from few places that had constant showers throughout the day. We were actually expecting showers and flooding in low-lying areas due to a low-pressure system that is building up. Let's get ready for that. Now, looking to the west for today, it was partly cloudy with showers likely for the night. Drive safe and check your cars before you take it out. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, it didn't have any major showers happening, but just so you know, there are predictions of heavy showers expected for the night. And up north, this place might feel the wave of the showers later in the week. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. Turning to the tides, low tide at 7:47 p.m. with high tide at 2:05 a.m. Sunrise at 6:09. For tomorrow, there is absolutely very much 100% chance of showers, which might cause flooding in low-lying areas. Tomorrow's temps, Nandi will heat up to 33 degrees. Sunscreens and tanning are a must. Looking further on to Thursday, more showers will make their kind way towards us, and we are so delighted to have them. Let's have some fun on the rain before we actually get the sunshine. That's all from the weather world. Our superwoman is back with some wonders of the world.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fiji and Pulse tonight, we asked, do you know the proper techniques of washing hands to avoid contracting COVID-19?
I have been hearing the steps needs to be taken when washing hands over the news on radio. I have been practicing that at home.
I know the techniques as we need to thoroughly wash our hands with soap and water.
I travel from the village and I'm not aware of those healthy living tips. More awareness on this area is needed.
In the world of the weird and the wonderful, an opera singer is waiting to attract younger audience to opera via breakdance. But will these tactics work? Recapping the main stories for tonight, PM tours COVID-19 isolation facilities. Banks roll out hardship incentive packages, and supermarkets start to see increase in demand. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question, we're asking, should Fijians resort to wearing face masks in light of the COVID-19 threat? Visit the FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day, beautiful one taken at Malolo by Sailasa Lutunaivalu. And you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, via Facebook page at FBC News, our Twitter page at FBC_news, or hashtag FBC News. That was your news for tonight. From the team and I, stay safe, drive safe, good night.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.